Hey there fellas, welcome back to the channel. You seem to be really liking these Is Blank Game Worth Buying videos, so let's do another one. Today we're going to be covering one of the newest World War II shooters out there, Hell Let Loose, and together we're going to find out if it's actually worth its $40 price tag in its current state. So let's get right into that. So, Hell Let Loose has been on my radar for forever now because I totally love World War II shooters and I love games like Squad. I've heard this game is actually a pretty good mix of the two, and yes, I do know that Post Scriptum exists. It's just the player count. It's pretty low. I think the game might be past its heyday, but who knows, maybe we can do a versus video on that sometime in the future. Stay tuned. But if I've been wanting to buy this game for so long, why hadn't I just bought it yet? Well, number one, I'm not made of money, guys, and number two, it's been in early access for a while now. I wanted to wait for the full game to release so I could judge it when the devs presumably think it's the most worth it. There are now no excuses, so I'm not going to be pulling any punches. But before we get to whether or not the game's worth it, we need to talk about the game itself and get you filled in on what it is, my first impression, what the game does well, and what it doesn't. Once we've covered all of that, I'll give you the answer, and hopefully by then you'll have one for yourself. After all, my opinion could be very different from yours. Okay, so to kick this off, we're going to start by talking about what Hell Let Loose even is, since I'm sure there's a bunch of you who don't even know what the game's about. I would describe the game as a hardcore World War II first-person shooter on a pretty large scale. You join the game, find a server to play on, and then choose between two countries' armies. Currently, the game includes the United States, Germany, and the Soviet Union, but they do have plans to add more in the future. Once you've joined one of these teams, you're brought to the Units menu, where you get to pick a unit, or a squad, to join. These units are separated into three categories: infantry, the people that you'll probably join, who have units of 6 players, armor, the guys in tanks, who can have 3, and recon, the snipers and spotters, who work as a duo. Each of these have unique roles within them that have their own jobs like medics, anti-tank, engineers, etc. Once you pick a role, you're able to spawn in and get to the action. Basically, just do your job and listen to your squad leader. This is where the game starts to differ a lot from most run and gun shooters. In Hell Let Loose, your kill to death ratio isn't really that important. Your ability to work with the team is, because honestly, you are going to die a ton in this game. The maps are pretty big and cover is plentiful, so most of the time you won't even know where you died from. Just make sure to keep in mind that this difficulty is part of the fun. While it is a very challenging game at times, that makes it feel pretty rewarding. Each match lasts about 45 minutes to an hour, and that whole time you're going to be either trying to defend points, take points, or a little bit of both. Once the match ends, you get XP and it levels your classes up. Okay, and that's all good on paper, but how does it actually feel to play? Well, after my first few matches, I can confidently say that I absolutely hated this game with all my heart. I was so ready to drop it and never speak of it again. I died constantly to enemies I couldn't see, and I had respawned to immediately die again. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, where the enemies were, what the callouts meant, nothing. All of this was obviously very frustrating to me, but then I relaxed a bit and reminded myself that the challenge was the reason I was playing this game in the first place. Plus, I was literally past the point of no returns, so I kept playing and slowly but surely got the hang of the game. As I got better at staying alive and playing safer, I had a much more enjoyable experience. I was feeling immersed, I was getting kills, and I was really starting to get an appreciation for the gameplay. Hell Let Loose is 100% a game that grows on you. But does it grow on you enough to justify spending $40? Well, we just have to talk about the pros and cons real quick, and then we'll get right to that answer. Let's start with what I love about this game, since there is a ton. In fact, there's so many that I'm going to separate them into 3 sections: immersion, graphical realism, and gameplay. You can say whatever you want about Hell Let Loose, but one thing is for sure: this game is super immersive and super atmospheric. I honestly don't think I've ever played an FPS game that has made me feel this involved, and that's for a ton of reasons, mainly the gore, vehicles, and a few other awesome details they've sprinkled in. Let's start by talking about the gore, which might sound a bit dark, but honestly, it is pretty awesome in a kind of gruesome way. The devs did not hold back at all when it comes to how graphically you and your fellow players can be blown to smithereens. While it is cool to see people's legs fly out from an explosion, it also really helps set a pretty grim tone. I still can't get over how shocking and slightly frightening it is to watch your friend get shot in the face and drop right in front of you. It's even crazier when they get artilleried to Kingdom Come. It's brutal and it really helps you feel immersed. I love it, and honestly, it really helps make this game what it is. Another huge immersion factor for me was the vehicles. Vehicles aren't usually something I would factor into my immersion, since it's usually just turn it on and drive. But the vehicles in Hell Let Loose really help set the stage in the time period. They sound pretty rough and they drive like they're from 1940. I remember the first time I got forced to do a supply run like it was yesterday. I turned on the truck, started driving it, and immediately realized that they felt really good, in a kind of annoying way. But it was cool because it really did feel like it was a truck that would have been driven in World War II. And this is all without even mentioning the tanks, which require manual shifting. Again, it's a little bit annoying if you're used to the automatic ones, but it totally builds the world like crazy. Automatic tanks just weren't a thing back then. And also, this might sound a little bit stupid, but I am super pleased with the fact that the cosmetics you earn as you level up actually fit within the time period of the game. They aren't like Grim Reaper and Phantom of the Opera inspired. I'm looking at you, Battlefield and Call of Duty. There's honestly a ton more that makes this game super immersive. Those are just the best I could think of and the most important to me. Just trust me, the atmosphere of this game is done really well. Another one of Hell Let Loose's pros is the gameplay. It has been done really well, especially if you're fans of games like Squad and Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. Anyone else play that game? I know it isn't super popular, but I really love it, okay? The game does a lot right when it comes to the gameplay, and it really hits a perfect sweet spot between too realistic and too easy, at least in my opinion. The respawn timers can be pretty long, which is good. It actually gives you an incentive not to die. You also do end up doing a lot of walking, since they don't want you to be able to just spawn on your teammate that's behind enemy lines. To do that, you need the squad leader to set down an outpost or a garrison. This might sound annoying at first, but it really does help add to the realism. You also die a lot if you pop out into the open for even a split second, but again, it does add to the realism, and it makes you hone your skills and play smarter. But if you're dying too much, don't worry, there's always a chance that a medic can revive you, but only a medic. In Hell Let Loose, they are the only people who can revive you, and only if you've taken non-fatal damage. If you get shot in the head or blown sky high, you probably won't be coming back. I really like that they do that because it also, and let's all say it together, adds to the realism. Bullets in the brain and point-blank explosions can't be solved with a little bit of morphine and some dirty bandages. While all of this can sound pretty hard to newcomers, it's kind of easy to figure out if you put time into it. There is a steep learning curve, but it isn't near as steep as games like Arma, so don't sweat it. I was also really impressed with the way that this game handles progression, by which I mean that it has any at all. That has to be one of my biggest complaints with Squad. There's really no incentive to grind or keep playing other than the simple fact that the game is tons of fun. Hell Let Loose, however, lets you level up your roles and gain access to a new loadout after a few levels. After you get that loadout, you can keep playing to get new cosmetics. It's not an amazing progression system, but it's cool that it's there at all. Okay, and this brings us to the last thing I absolutely love about this game: the graphics. Yes, I know that graphics aren't everything, but when they're paired with a game that's already super immersive, they really can't hurt. The textures in this game are stunning, and so are the weapon models. They look really good, especially when paired with physics. Like, look at that. The gun strap is moving with me. I think that's really cool. But textures and models aren't the only graphical flex that this game has. As I'm sure you've already been able to tell, the explosion effects are awesome. Seriously, just watching that bombing run steadily get closer and closer to you is something else, especially when combined with the sound design, which is also top tier quality. Take a listen for yourself. This game just looks and sounds top notch, which really impresses me. It isn't the most important thing, but the graphics just scream out quality from the beginning. Unfortunately, the graphics also lead us to our first "this kinda sucks" section. Because holy crap, the optimization in this game really needs some work. It was immediately the first thing that rubbed me the wrong way about this game. I realized that it stutters quite a bit and it's really hard to get a consistent 60 FPS on my Ryzen 7 3800X and 1660 Ti. Yes, that's even on the lowest settings, and that's how I can tell that this game is a little bit poorly optimized. Okay, let's pause real quick. When I wrote and recorded this section, I was having some really bad FPS issues no matter which setting I was on, but now as I'm editing, the issue seems to have kind of fixed itself. I'm not really sure why, since I didn't see an update or anything. I'm kind of just assuming that my PC was being a little weird those days. I still do get stutters, but I can run on medium to high graphics pretty comfortably. In any case, I have heard that there are optimization issues for lots of other people, so all of you out there with low-end PCs, watch out as this is a pretty graphically intense game. And the people with high-end PCs, just be aware that you could experience some poor optimization according to other players. Another huge issue I have with the game is the amount of bugs I've experienced. There haven't been a ton, but the main one I've been dealing with, oh my gosh, it has me nearly pulling my hair out every session. For some reason, I can't use my squad voice chat button in the spawning menu without having to spam the crap out of it, and hope it stops at the right time and I can actually activate it. Why has this not been fixed yet? I've looked it up, it's really not an uncommon issue, so why does it still happen? I've also noticed that the damage indicators are really confusing. At first, I just thought they were completely wrong and broken, but now I realize that it only happens when you die. You see, when your body flops over and ragdolls, the indicator keeps pointing in relation to your noggin. So if you get shot from the north, but your head rolls to face the south after you die, the damage indicator will now be facing south instead of north, which is where the enemy is. On a slightly calmer note, I've also glitched straight through the floor a couple of times when I get blown up. It's really not a big issue since I'm dead when it happens, it's just kind of funny. Overall, the bugs aren't crazy, you can definitely play the game and have a good time with them there, but I know a lot of you get really ticked at full release games with bugs like these, so I'm just letting you know, you have been warned. Alright, and now we've made it to the end, we're going to answer the final question, we've made it to the grand finale. So, do I think that Hell Let Loose is worth $40 in its current state? Honestly, yeah, I really do. It has its fair share of issues, but they aren't too bad. They can be easily fixed and they are greatly overshadowed by the rest of the game. If it was $60, I might be a little bit more hesitant, but for $40, I think it's a pretty good deal, and probably one of the best World War II shooters out there. If you agree with me, be sure to check it out on my Nexus game store, I'd really appreciate it, but you don't have to take my word for it. I've given you a lot of info about the game, so if you disagree with my final assessment, that's totally okay. It's your money, you spend it how you want. Who knows, maybe you could even use it to subscribe to my new membership program that's only $1 a month? Okay, I'm sorry, I had to plug it. Feel free to join if you want. If not, there's absolutely no pressure. I appreciate your viewership just as much. Alright, and that should just about wrap the video up, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, you could leave a like and a subscribe. It really helps the channel out immensely, and I really do appreciate it. But with all that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe and have a good one. Oh, and also I know in the last video I said that I booked a haircut, but it got rescheduled.